What we will be talking about today is leadership. Obviously, that's the goal. That's the idea. That's why we, tune in. In YouTube. That's the reason why we get plugged in and listen to the podcast, is because we want to grow in our leadership. We want to advance in our leadership. We want to become more thorough with leading ourselves, leading our families, our marriages, companies, leading others. And so if we're talking about leadership summed up is influence. John C. Maxwell, the leadership guru, coined that phrase years ago, that leadership is influence. And so if you want to evaluate your leadership, you always want to identify, why are people following you? Is it because of that position? Because typically, you start off in a position. If you have a manager at a job, you don't have to know that person. You know that that's the manager, so they are in that position. So you need to honor them. You need to obey them. You're a subordinate. And so that's the first level. Typically, that's how leadership starts, is from a position. Then you give people permission to have access to your life because of a personal touch. You let your guards down. You let them speak into your life. So you give people access to you. You give them permission. Now, the question is, are people giving you permission, or are you leading from a position? And then the second phase shifts, and we go from position to productivity. Like, how are you producing? Are you producing a great organization? Are you producing a nonprofit, a church? What are you producing? And then we shift to people development. People follow you not only because of your productivity, but then your people development. They see that you have produced well when it comes to people, and they honor that, and they give you influence. And then the pinnacle is people follow you just because of who you are. So today, when we're talking about influence, we want to just discuss this, dealing with difficult behaviors and conflict. That's a part of leadership. That's a part of leading people well, is being able to deal with difficult behaviors and conflict. Romans chapter 12, verse 18 says, do all that you can to live in peace with everyone. Now, that's a heck of a statement. Do all that you can to live in peace with everyone. Now, it's a great challenge for everyone, because you're saying it's our responsibility to do all we can in order to live in peace with everyone. It's our job. We can strive for that as leaders. So now this leaves us in a space where we come to understand that people are going to not only follow us because of a position, or us giving them permission, or our productivity, or our people development, but the pinnacle is now people are following you and I because of who we are, and us striving hard to live at peace with everyone. And that's very difficult, because people have difficult behaviors. You have conflict. So the question is, what is one of the things you do to deal with difficult behavior? What is one thing that you do to deal with difficult behavior? Now, most of us have a lens for conflict. We have a perspective. When conflict comes, often the trauma in our life or the lack of drama or trauma in our life causes us to respond a particular way when conflict comes. Some people, they don't deal with conflict well because they may have never had conflict in their life. And so they shy down. Every time there's conflict, they kind of like shrink back. And so because of the lack of conflict or drama or trauma in their life, they don't deal with conflict well. And life, there's going to be trouble. Even Jesus, our Savior, said that there will be trouble in this world. And so what he's saying is there's going to be conflict. There's going to be problems. There's going to be behaviors that are very difficult that you're going to have to deal with. You're going to run across some people. And then in Romans it tells, do all that you can. This is what it says, do all that you can to live in peace. And so when we have a lens for conflict, often it's because of a lack of drama or trauma in our life, or because we've had trauma, and that trauma cause us to respond maybe in a negative or possibly a healthy way, if you've been developed to handle leadership in a healthy way. But I've noticed that many times we've had drama and trauma in our lives, and it molds and it shapes the way we perceive life. And so now we have a lens. So when there's conflict, often we'll take it personal. And maybe we'll clap back or we'll respond in a negative manner because of the conflict. So we need to evaluate our lens. How is your lens when it comes to conflict? We need to have a transformational lens when it comes to conflict. We need to have clarity of how do we want to resolve this conflict. One of the things that Jesus said was, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God. Blessed are the peacemakers. In Matthew chapter 5, verse 9, it says, blessed are the peacemakers, people who make peace. Now, when I hear that, often people think that Matthew chapter 5, verse 9 is saying that you're sitting by a brook or a stream with birds chirping in the background, and you're sitting with your legs crossed, with your hands lifted up, maybe in a yoga style, or meditating, and everything's so peaceful, it's quiet. You have the birds chirping, you have the wind blowing against your skin, and you have your eyes closed. And many people define being a peacemaker like that. Wow, they're just such a peaceful person. They make peace. Well, in order to make peace, there has to be a war. Because it means peace is not there, it's absent. And so if I'm going to be a peacemaker, that means that I need to be able to go into an area where there's conflict or there's difficult behavior, and I come and bring or resolve. I bring a peace or resolve a matter in such a way that would cause calm in the environment. Very important for me to be able to do this, and you can't do this on the lowest level of leadership, on the positional leadership. Because when difficult behavior is in an uproar, just because you have a position, that don't mean that I got to listen to you. I'm already up here. I'm on volume 10. And because I'm on volume 10 or I'm very angry or disturbed, because of that, your position will not change the fact that I'm frustrated. I'm perturbed. I'm not coming to polish your badge today. I wouldn't care what kind of badge you have, what kind of authority you hold. I'm not polishing the badge. I'm up here. I'm disturbed. So positional leadership won't be able to bring that. Possibly permissional leadership may bring that if you've had a personal touch. But many times, even if you had a personal touch, when someone has deep-rooted issues and difficult behaviors, even at personal touch, you just may not be able to resolve their issue today. Because the transformational leadership that we need to present to the table is just not high enough with just a personal touch. It's not high. The transformational leadership, we don't have a lot of equity just from having a personal touch, because personal touch is the second level of leadership. And now, even being a productive leader. Productive leaders basically is talking about an organizational leader that knows how to lead an organization. But now we need to shift into that people development level of leadership, where we're able to help this individual with their trauma, with their drama. Maybe it's causes for us to ask a few questions. And I'm going to tell you, one of the questions you may not want to ask is, why are you so angry? That's not a good question. This is another statement that we shouldn't say when someone is all disturbed, is calm down. Calm down is not a good statement to make. But maybe with some questions that may help them understand that you are here to actually help them and let their guards down, like, how can I help? Is there anything I can do to make things better? Did I do anything wrong in this situation? And be ready for all the wrath that may come from out of their mouth when you ask, did I do anything wrong? And accept that. Receive that. Hear that. One of the last things you want to do is defend yourself from that. And so when we're talking about leadership, we want to have the big picture. The big picture is connecting resolution and transformation. So I want to bring a resolution. So if I want to bring a resolution, what I do not want to do is come to bring a magnifying glass to whatever your problem is right now. Now we can get to that. The goal is obviously to get to a resolution and transformation, but I'm not here to identify what the problem is. I'm here to bring a resolution. Now, many times you do have to define the problem to get to a resolution, but relationally, in order to be able to do that, you are going to have to make sure we as leaders, what we're going to do, because we're leading at the highest level, that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that the guards are brought down in order for me to be in a relational connection with you. And in order to have a relational connection with you right now, I just need to ask some questions and make sure you know that I'm here to serve you. I'm here to help you. So one of the things that hinders us from being able to get to transformation is we attack the person and not the problem. If anyone ever feels like you're attacking them and not there to solve or serve them or to solve the problem, then they're going to feel like you're attacking them. And so you may have to ask some questions even just to be able to help them discover, maybe even if you know what the problem is, but just to help them to identify the problem. And so we're going to do this together. And we're going to do this very delicately. We're going to do this in a manner that's loving. And it's not even what I say now, it's about how I make you feel. It's not about what I say now, it's about how I make you feel. If you feel attacked, then we're not going to get to resolving the problem. So attack the problem, not the person. We are going to attack the problem, not the person. And in attacking the problem, they do not even need to feel as if they are being attacked. So that's where the delicate wording and the tactfulness comes in. And then obviously we want to resolve the problem with a biblical principle because we're Christians. And for all those that listen that may not be a Christian, there's something about God's word. There's something about the Bible. I would really encourage you to take a deep dive and see that the Bible has been solving people's problems for years. And even if you don't believe in it, try that. Get in the Bible principle, meaning a scripture, and resolve a problem. And then ultimately, the goal is to have the transformation of the relationship. We want our relationships transformed. That's the big picture. We want our relationships transformed. But the real question is, how do you become a person that deals with difficult behavior and conflict in a healthy way? Now, we're going to take a curve and we're going to take a shift. And hopefully you don't take it like it's a nosedive, but this is going to be different. Because the question is, how do you become a person that deals with difficult behavior and conflict in a healthy way? Because we all deal with difficult behaviors. We all deal with that individual that may be a little disturbing. We all go to the supermarket and we find someone that has a bad attitude. We all have conflict even in our marriages. We all have conflict even with our children. We have conflict with that PTA member that we go to the school and we're there for the kids, and all of a sudden you have a parent that's at the meeting and they're a little difficult. And so how do you become a person that deals with difficult behavior and conflict in a healthy way? Let me tell you how we approach this: with self-care. When you take care of yourself well, then you approach things from a healthy space. You take care of your spiritual health, your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health, and you just feel so good about yourself that when you approach other people, you feel good about other people as well. And because you feel good about yourself, you're able to approach people from a healthy space. And because you honor relationships, because you honor the relationship you have with yourself, that you're going to honor a relationship with someone else and you want to resolve things in a healthy way. There are some biblical ways to actually take care of ourselves. You and I, we want to make sure that we define self-care from a biblical standpoint. I'm not talking about going to go get your pedicure or manicure, which I'm all for that as well, or maybe a massage. That's great. But what I'm talking about is your inner man. Obviously, you want to take care of your physical as well, but I don't want it to be limited to just that. Because, therapy is self-care emotionally. Reading books is good self-care mentally, spiritually. Self-care may look like devotion time and quiet time with the Lord and praying, but we want to take care of the whole man. God says you should love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And then he continues to say, this is the first and greatest commandment. And then it says, a second is equally important. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. It is difficult for me to lovingly resolve any conflict with anyone if I don't know how to love myself properly. Bible says that you should love your neighbor as you love yourself. There's so many times that we're trying to serve and love other people when we haven't even loved ourselves well. So why do we need a biblical understanding of self-care? Well, we need a biblical view or understanding of self-care because compassion fatigue and burnout, it's a reality. Compassion fatigue and burnout is so high when it comes to ministers, when it comes to leaders, when it comes to nonprofit CEOs, when it comes to people that are always serving others so well. Compassion fatigue and burnout is so high right now. People are falling off, quitting, getting discouraged because they did not take care of themselves well, biblically. So what is burnout? That's a good question, because some people, they think, well, all you got to do is just pray all day. For some Christians, they say that. And I'm actually a pastor, but I think that it's a little bit more. I'm not saying we need more than Jesus, but Jesus has provided a lot of things here on earth that we can actually do to actually cater to our emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical health. Sometimes what we're doing is things like this as Christians. We have this greasy burger with grease running down our arms saying, Lord, bless this meal for the nourishment of my body. And it's like, no, we can't put that one on Jesus now. Maybe you need to get a salad. And maybe that would nourish your body a little bit more. And that's what a lot of times we do as Christians, is we throw things on Jesus. Well, Jesus is enough. Well, he's asking for you and I to do some things practically here on earth. And so what does it mean for us to be burnt out? Burnout is the inability to manage oneself and maintain our own energy, emotions, and mental. That leads to failure. So burnout is the inability to manage or maintain our energy, whether that's emotional, mental, physical, spiritual. And all of this leads to failure, okay? Burnout is the inability to manage or maintain our energy, whether it's emotional, mental, spiritual, physical, which leads to failure. People don't burn out because they are weak or because they don't love Jesus. They burn out because they overdo it and live stressed out for so long that their bodies take over in defense and it just shuts down. I've experienced this personally. I remember in the pandemic, in the middle of March 2020, we all know that horrific time when we all found out about COVID-19 and how everyone needed to stay at home. They had all kind of mandates that told us that we couldn't come out, and if you did come out, you needed a mask. And I didn't know that I was carrying so much stress and worry in my body. And we were leading a church of about 350 people at that time. And me and my wife, and we had a recovery center of about 60, 70 men in there, and helping them recover from drug addiction. We had never seen this in our lives. No one had. And I just took everything on my back and just threw it on my shoulder and just started trying to lead from a space of just, it was a good space that I was coming from. Like, I had the right intentions, but it was the wrong practice. It was a good heart, bad practice. Don't charge it to my heart. Charged it in my mind, and that's what burnt out, was my mind. It wasn't my heart that burnt out. My heart was still for the drug addict. My heart was still for the church, and wanted to make sure that everyone was, needs were met. And I took it all on my shoulder for 3 months. And I sat down in June. This is still 2020, in June. And I looked at my wife about the middle of June. I said, babe, I got to get away. She's like, what? I said, and this is the first time I'd ever said this in years of doing ministry, over 15 years at that time. And I said, I got to get away. She said, okay. I said, I just got to pull away. I literally flew all the way to California and went and got a room. And California was totally, it was totally shut down. Texas, we live in Dallas, Texas, the DFW area. And, Texas pretty much is its own country. We just start going at places and doing whatever we wanted to do. California wasn't having that. No one was outside. It was like March 2020 in June for California. We just went into a hotel room and just sat in the room. We would jump in our rental car and drive up the coast, Pacific Coast Highway, and just kind of relax. And I prayed and read a book and got in God's word and got replenished and just kind of like let my hair down. And I was like, okay, after about a week, I was like, okay, I'm ready. But I burnt out because I hadn't taking care of myself mentally and emotionally, even physically. It's so important to understand that you can burn out, and that does not mean that you don't love Jesus. That doesn't mean that you're weak. And let me tell you, there's no way we will be able to resolve conflict or deal with difficult people or any behavior that's difficult if we have not taken care of ourselves. Now, I know there's an extreme to this. Oh, well, I'm not going to talk to no one. I'm not going to tell anyone anything. I'm not going to lead anyone because, hey, I need to take care of myself. Now, that's an extreme as well. That's not self-care. That's selfish. We need to have a balance. We need to make sure we take care of ourselves spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. And we also need to have influence in other people's lives. And we don't want to stay at the positional influence. We want to be in a space where people give us permission and we're very productive and we're people developers and we are at the pinnacle. We're at the top of our game at leading people and having influence in people's lives. People who burn out, they're not that bright. Because when you burn both candles, when you burn the candle at both ends, you're proving that you're not that bright. When you burn the candlestick on both ends, you are proving that you are not that bright. So there are so many things that causes burnout. And I'm going to give you one thing that really causes burnout. A lack of boundaries. When you don't have healthy boundaries set up, now I'm going to tell you, often people that are toxic, they get frustrated with your boundaries, but that's okay. That's okay. If they get frustrated with your boundaries, maybe, just maybe, they may not be the people that should have access to you. Because if they really love you and understand that you need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, they will respect your boundaries. What do I mean by boundaries? Like have times where you're going to talk to people and when you're not going to talk to people. Have times when, you are just with your wife and you're not on your phone. You're not checking emails. You're not available for anyone else. You can't save the world when yourself is diminishing. So we got to take concrete steps to creating clear boundaries. With your smartphone, maybe you set it up where you're not on social media at a certain time. You can only be on social media this long, then it shuts down and don't give you access to it. You can't have access to your emails at certain times. I have a boundary with me and my wife. We go on date night. We do it typically on Fridays or Saturdays. Been doing this for 14 years now. It'll be 14 years this year. I just leave my phone in the car. Whatever's happening, it is not more important to this woman right now. I leave my phone in the car. I don't want to, because I know that there's times where we can get addicted to our technology, to our devices. You can just touch it. Matter of fact, it says that you touch your phone well over 4,000 times a day. Just touch it. You touch it. Have you ever just felt like maybe it vibrated? Have you ever thought like, oh, maybe, and then you look at it, it's just addiction. And so I can leave that in the car because I don't even want to touch it. Because I don't want to be tempted to read an email, to read a text. I want to make sure that this woman knows she's more important than anything. So important to have healthy boundaries. You and I, we need to have healthy boundaries. Maybe you can make a list of things that you can do that will create healthy boundaries. Now, everyone has their own preferences, but this is a principle. You have preferences that you need to, set the boundaries for, whatever you prefer. But the principle is this: set healthy boundaries in order for you to have self-care in your life. And when you take care of yourself, you're able to lead others well. When you lead yourself well, you can lead others well. When you take care of yourself, self-care, you are able to deal with difficult behavior and conflict well, and you're able to lead them. Today, I just wanted to make sure that I discuss with you how to deal with unhealthy behavior, difficult behavior. and conflict. I thank you so much for joining us. Leading Through with Billy Island, we always drop content once a month, and we may have some bonus episodes this month, so just be ready. And I would love for you to like, share, review, comment, and get the word out, because we need to lead through circumstance situations. And the better that you can lead yourself, you can lead through anything, and your influence will impact someone else. Thank you so much for joining us.